best not miss. Let's get to it. Hottest show online. I promise you. I promise you. I know you're tired of hearing me say this, but I'm going to say it anyway because I cannot tell a lie. My grandmother taught us against this, right? We have another banger, people. This is one of those ones to where if you need to grab your beer or your popcorn, I advise you to do it now. This is one of those ones to where 60 seconds might cause you to miss out on a life explosion, right? But listen, people, I know some of you came here because you're with the, what do the young kids call it? You're with the ish, right? Some of you came here to be involved in some of the, well, the young boys call it the effery, right? There's not any effery taking place tonight, people. Not any effery taking place. But what we are doing tonight is laying law down. I understand, and most people understand that you're not going to get everybody. You're just not. For the simple fact that therein lies bits and trinkets of pleasure in doing wrong. Have you ever had someone you loved and you all saw what cocaine was doing to them? It's visible. You could see it. All the way to the extent of the bonding out of jails, all of these things, right? You see the damage, but that's not what that person sees. All of the nonsense that you guys see, that person sees and smells and reminisces on how they feel every time they set that lighter to that glass. See what I'm saying? So it's not so much, we do have a great deal of mental illness taking place in this. Great deal of it, right? But there's also a number of people who know how they're moving is wrong and inappropriate, but there's trinkets of pleasure that they get from it. There's things that they get from this. So what we have to do, people, we have to let them go. But for those of you who know you're broken like me, I'm broken, right? Those of you who know that you're broken, but you don't want to stay that way, you should cash app around $250,000 for tonight's show. Yes, it's going to be that hot. Topic of tonight's show: appraising women's dating value. Some of you kind of didn't get the terminology sexual market value. I've explained several times what the market is. The market is basically everyone's opinion. Everyone dictates your value. Everyone does. It's not up to you. Why do you think we find some of the most atrocious looking women saying they're 10s, but they're not getting 10 results? They're not getting 10 results. It's because that is a self-proclaimed evaluation. What matters is what the world is saying about you. Listen, I know we are always taught, I'm not even going to subscribe to that, but people, especially in the black community, I don't care what nobody thinks about me. That is a Nigger attitude. Because the truth of the matter is, in most cases, I'll say around 90% of the time, what society as a whole is saying about you has a great deal of legitimacy to it. People aren't typically running around lying on people like they're not. They're not. Now, are there some agendas and things of that nature where they sabotage people's reputation? Yes, but that's why I allotted room for 10%, right? You guys don't seem to have a problem when everyone's talking about how honorable, how gorgeous, and how amazing you are, right? And you know there's a deal of accuracy to that. The same way, when society as a whole is making a statement about you, there's going to be a great deal of legitimacy associated with it. There's going to be a great deal of legitimacy associated with it. Shout out to the brother. He said the effery, yeah. Shout out to the brother Mike checking this situation with the cash, the super chat. SMB, sexual market value, equals the dating pool value. It's what everyone thinks about you. And the crazy part about what everyone else thinks about you, they don't have a reason to be biased. What do you think Google is? Google is pretty much everyone's opinion. That's why you guys can get on Google and type up something that you think not one person in the world has ever thought of this. But yet, soon as you type it up, you see 5 results, right? That's how big the world is. And that's how minds of the world vary, right? What everyone is saying about you, trust and believe. There is high degrees of accuracy to it. High degrees of accuracy. Ladies, what you ladies don't seem to understand is why you're experiencing such levels of difficulty on the dating market. And I'm going to help you understand that today. If you just pay attention, this thing is going to flow so smoothly. I'm going to do everything but call out some of your social security numbers. I have to ask any rational person, do you think that for 15 years, people have been treating you the same way as other people who don't even know each other? I really wish that I could ask about 50 women that right now. Do you really think that people over the course of 15 years, you've been getting the same reactions about you from a mass of people who don't even know each other? What would you think about that? The only common denominator is you. That means there's something taking place with you that only you don't see. That's the cool thing about society. They don't really have a reason to just lie on you. But you do. You have a reason to lie on you. Because we don't typically want people to say the worst of us. We don't want people to say bad things about us. We don't want people to say that we borrow money and don't pay back. We don't want people to know that we even borrow money, right? So you will minimize it, but other people will call it simply as they see it. They just don't have any incentive to lie. Now, I'm not talking about people who you are at odds with currently. I'm talking about what the universe typically says about you. Ladies, the reason that you guys are getting these results that you've been getting over the course of 15 years is because what men see when they look at you is a traitor. And those of you who don't fit this description, throw it out. What men are seeing when they look at most women today is a traitor, especially in the African American community. Men see people who stabbed them in the back. Men see people who used to be their best friends, who they used to tell everything to, who turned their backs on them when they met somebody new. That somebody new was feminism. Turbulence, people. Yes, it's about to get rough. I think I'm going to coin that phrase, rough, right? That somebody that you stabbed your best friends in the back for was feminism. I'm not going to do it right now, but there will be a time. We actually need to get into what feminism is and what it did. What character, what traits you can identify it with. I'm going to sum it up really quickly. Feminism is no different than cheating on men with another man. It is an entity. It is something that can take up residency inside of you, become a life force inside of you. I'm going to say this again. The reason why a lot of you are getting the results that you've been getting on the dating highway is because what men see when they look at a lot of you is a traitor. Men see someone who we used to be like this. It was us against the world. It was us against oppression. It was us against racism. We were all we had. So how can we come to a place where we are literally all that we have? It's going to get a little bit deeper than I thought. How can we have saw each other getting whipped across the back? How can we have saw each other getting popped by police and we shed tears the same way? Because when we saw you, we identified with ourselves. How can we be that intimately intertwined with each other and one day you get introduced to somebody who is not even of our clan and you stab most of your men in the back to entertain that individual? Feminism. You discovered a new lifestyle that you sold the only men who have ever cared about you, the only men who have any genuine incentive to care about you. We hurt when you hurt because you look so much like us when we look at you. There's nobody else that can say that about you. Nobody. Since the beginning of time, ladies, men have taken care of women. Not when you had your degrees, not when your bank account was loaded, not when you had the best of clothes, when you were at your absolute worst. When you were at your absolute worst, which is why they have movies called Pretty Woman. We have snatched you guys out of diners. We have snatched you guys out of poverty. We have came into you ladies' lives when you had 2 children by 2 different FUCK boys. And we even take heat for it. My guy, why are you messing with her? I mean, you know what they say about her. And he's paying her rent. He's looking out for her. I remember, and listen, let's not lie here. We all remember, especially in the 80s and 90s, when a lot of the women were on welfare in the African American community. There were men who were hustling in the streets, coming in and introducing these women to luxuries that otherwise they wouldn't even have access to. You would see some of them in the streets driving so-and-so's car, and we respect him. So when we see her driving his whip, it is a signature, right? It is her identifying herself as belonging to him. She's dressing bonkers now. She has access to fashion design now. I know you guys are going to act like you don't know what I'm talking about, but those who are of sound minds, they know. And listen, even those who are of the middle class, right? Who grew up with both parents, and who the parents did well for themselves. Men even came in your lives and introduced you to luxuries you hadn't been introduced to, introduced you to freedoms that you were not previously introduced to be taken here, to be treated like an actual woman, vacations, things like that, right? We hear all of the stories. All you have to do is go to the movie Paid in Full, right? We protected women. You guys remember how many fights people used to get into about these women? People even lost their lives. People even lost their lives. We clothed you when you didn't have anything. We're talking about facing dangerous elements to make sure that you're provided for. We're not capping this at a time frame. We're not capping this at any particular time frame. Men were on roofs of cabins, putting mud in the cracks of roofs to keep heat from escaping. Learning as they go, just to make sure you were not uncomfortable. Walking out into the winter with leather hide wrapped around their feet for boots, if that's what you want to call them. Just to chop wood so you guys would be warm. I know a lot of you are going to say, this doesn't apply to us in these times. I'm going to get to where it applies to you. We're talking about generations that enabled you to become who you are. And all of the sudden, feminism comes along and you turn your backs on men in a way that can only be described as treason. Like, see, listen, a lot of you don't understand why you're seeing the reaction out of men that you see out of men on TikTok and all of these things, is because this did rock us to the core. Even when Kevin Samuels died, we did not know that there was anything we could ever do to make you guys laugh at our deaths. And not only that, to wish death upon us. And then when it actually happens, laugh about it. Does that sound like somebody who's a part of our clan? Let's be real. Which is why you will never go to any social media and see a group of men huddled up on a live, laughing and mocking the calamity or the death of a woman. Because listen, we are not the same. We are not the same. Men have lines that we don't cross. Why do you think in the mafia, they always said women and children were off limits? We have lines that we won't cross. And you people are guilty of treason. After all that men have done for you guys, in order for you to even come to a place where you can get your degrees, I think a lot of you have never backtracked and traced the things, the various steps over the course of generations that allowed you to accomplish the things that you accomplished. You didn't just fly out of the poonanny and you were accomplished. There were people who came in your life and made your plights easier. There's no doubt about it. And they were men. There is no doubt about it. Your great-great-great-grandmothers were taken care of so immaculately, all the way to the point where they were able to have your great-great-grandmother in a comfortable environment without her being broken. Now, what this allows for your great-great-grandmother to have children that aren't going to be as broken, and therefore they'll be able to excel to higher heights in society, right? But when you have children who are broken due to terrible upbringings, it's hard for them to be able to comprehend. It's hard for them to have the adequate reading and comprehension skills, critical thinking skills, problem solving skills that will enable them to excel into higher heights in society, right? But these are things that you guys don't think to be grateful for. I think you guys need to watch some of those shows like Little House on the Prairie and things like that. A way was paved for you to be born in a comfortable setting. And men did it. All of this started from the care that men took of women. And even stories have been passed down from generation to generation, which is why men are stuck on stupid today. Our teaching was passed down from our grandfathers, our dads, and our uncles. Our teachings were passed down from men who held women at such high values, which is why a lot of us dummies are still treating modern women the way they taught us to treat traditional women. That by itself is proof of the care that men took of women. They passed it down to us. They told us about picket white fences and your duty as a man. One day that girl is going to want a house. It's going to be up to you. They taught us about hard work, right? They taught us about being willing to die for a woman. And a lot of goofy men are suffering from that very programming today because those women who our people taught us to treat like that, they didn't tell us that one day there was going to come along a thing called modern women. Now, when you see those modern women, don't treat them how we told you to treat traditional women. And we should have had somebody to say that. Of course, it's not possible. But if we had have had someone to say that, let us know when it was time to switch up, there wouldn't be so many children in the United States who are currently right now calling the wrong man their dad. Because we would have kind of knew what to expect from women. We would have kind of knew not to trust them to the extent that we do. Because after all, they're modern women. They aren't traditional women. Traditional women have different belief sets. They have different sets of beliefs. All of this started, and I'm going to go ahead and say it. Turbulence, people. What a lot of you guys have been doing, you've been taking advantage of the fact that you know men are still programmed with treating women as traditional women, and you know that you're not a traditional woman. So it allows you to manipulate these men who are still stuck with those old updates. And I'm talking about some of you have taken these guys to the cleaners with that poontang. I have seen things in my life where me and my guys get together and we try to have a what do they call it? Intervention with one of our guys. Like, bro, you don't got to let her treat you like that. And it'll even go to the point where we'll say, bro, she's not even good looking enough for you to be. See, women have this thing figured out. That thing between their legs. If we could rate weapons arsenals, that would be women's number one weapon. That thing bucks many a man down, causes men to spend money that they don't even really have. And what's taking place today, women have figured that out, and they know how to use it to finesse men, to finesse men's feelings even. These women have gotten so cold with it, they don't care if they break a man's heart. You know why? Because studies show between 50 to 70% of women in relationships already have a backup plan and already know his name. Ladies, this is why you ladies are getting the level of treatment that you're getting. Because men didn't change, you changed. Is there anyone who would dispute that? I'm going to say that again. Men didn't change. Men are still moving how they moved 60 years ago. You guys aren't. Who disagrees with that? Give me a thumbs up if you a thumbs down if you disagree with it. I challenge any woman in here. Do you disagree that it was not men who changed? It was women who changed, and your change was drastic. It went so far as to no longer resembling women, but resembling men. Right? And that's why you ladies are bumping your heads on this dating highway. Because I don't think men are going to change. Men are always going to have it in their DNA to desire to be the hero. Men are always going to have it in their DNA to desire to be the head of the household. Men are always going to have it in their DNA that we are not equal, but men are superior to women. There's no Me Too movement. There's no, if you got, no matter what society says, cancel culture, all of that, there will never be anything that you can do to get men to believe that men and women are equal. And the truth of the matter is, you don't even want men to think that like that, because you would lose so many of your perks. So many. It's a thing that you guys say and lean on as a tool of manipulation. Which is why when we ask you guys, do you want to be the one to take the trash out, or do you want to be the one to come downstairs when we hear something bump at the door? You say no. Today's show is not condemnation. Today's show is about results and solutions, which are one and the same. People convinced you, ladies, that if a man has an indiscretion, you should drop a bomb inside of your freaking family. You should drop a hand grenade inside of your family, which then would cause your daughters to become broken women who will then grow up and be so broken that now they're having sex at the age of 14, diminishing their value so low that when other men see them, all they want to do is have sex with them because they ruined themselves before they had a chance to even become marriage material. These are the things that happen when there's not a man in the home. We know it. All of the studies point towards it. And it's a repetitious cycle. Those broken children then go on to have their own broken children. And it's what everybody's talking about in the black community. Look at us. Everything is broken. No one really knows what to think of it. When people most definitely won't view you as marriage material and therefore only want to have sex with them. When they start getting treated like what men are estimating their value to be. You guys say men are dogs, but that's not what's happening. That's not what's happening. What's happening is men are simply treating women according to their estimated value, unbiased. I'm going to prove that it's unbiased. How many of you think that men wake up and desire, they set their minds to say, I don't want to bump into any amazing women today. And if I bump into any amazing women, I'm not going to acknowledge them as amazing women. I'm just going to acknowledge them as lower tier women. I want to bump into unattractive women today. And if I bump into any women who are beautiful, I'm going to say that they're unattractive. No, we really do call that thing like we see it. We desire to bump into fine women who don't have children. We desire to bump into women whose shapes are fit. We desire to bump into women who have feminine, respectful, and classy behavior that we can compliment, right? I know you guys know that that's what we desire. Nobody desires to bump into the opposite. Just like you guys don't desire to bump into a broke guy who's on drugs. My point in bringing that up is this. If you guys know that that's not what we desire, then we have no reason to lie whenever we assess you. Because what we want is for you to be amazing. So if we estimate you to be other than that, you know we're not lying. We're not just saying it just to be saying it. We desire to encounter women who are at their maximum, right? What I'm saying to you ladies is what people are saying about you, especially throughout the course of 14, 15 years, you better bet your last buck that there's a high degree of accuracy there. If men of quality who really generally hold jobs have not wifed you, turbulence, people. It simply means you have been tried and weighed in the balance of scales and found to be wanting as marriage material. But when we say these things to you, he hates women. When we say these things to you, he's fat shaming. There is no way you can get around this. Have you ever noticed that most women don't call millionaires broke ass NIGGAs? They can't. They can only really call them what they really are. When we call you women overweight and low value, We're not saying it for no reason. But listen, I don't want you to get offended. I want you to listen. Because if you listen to us when we say these things, later in the show, I'm going to let you know how you can increase your value. We find it absolutely astonishing that you desire to believe that we're just making things up. You've been on the dating market for 14 years and no one has locked you down and said, I don't want anybody else having access to her before I do. I gotta lock her down before someone else gets to her. Think about this. People don't generally stumble up on something amazing and opt to go in the opposite direction of it, which means you're not moving in amazingness. Some of you are downright ugly, atrocious. But here's where you'll be winning. If you own up to that and then seek to get the type of man that a downright ugly woman is on the same level with, instead of you being downright but ugly and overweight, and you're tripping because quality men are, I don't know who he think he is. No, he's somebody with good sense, and you should practice the same. See, because I would rather you be downright hideous and be locked in with a man who's crazy about you and your life appears to be going on a really cool journey, looks like you're probably going to have a good life outcome, than for you to be downright ugly and to be sabotaging yourself, walking through this world, continuing to attempt to lock in with men who are clearly out of your league. The crazy part is, why don't you ladies understand after years that apparently the stores that you're shopping in, you don't have enough money for them? Now listen, I would say that about men too, but it's not the case. Men and women are different. We all know men can be but ugly. And if their swag is on point, right? If their swag is on point, let's even say if he has money. If he is intertwined with his masculine energy, a woman won't be able to resist it. And you know it. We've been trying for a while to get you guys to understand we're different. A lot of your speed bumps are coming by way of trying to do what we do. Have you noticed we don't try to do what you do? It won't work for us. Stay in your lane. And the results that you will get as a byproduct of it will be things that we can't get. I'm going to say this again. You guys say, when you guys aren't getting the results you want, you say men are dogs. But I'm telling you, that's not what's happening. Men are unbiasedly assessing you guys. And based on what the findings are, that's how you guys are getting treated. If you're the type of woman who dresses provocatively often, right? You have lots of cleavage showing. And even when you dance, it's very sensual and sexual. Chances are men are going to assess you, appraise you in front of the world, and treat you like whatever it is that you most closely identify, that you most closely resemble to them. If you more closely resemble a HOE, that's what they're going to treat you like. In our databases, we have databases, just like you do, with animals, mixers, candles. We've all been downloaded this data. That's a candle, right? We've been downloaded what a HOE is. We've been downloaded what a simp is. So when we assess you, when we appraise you, whatever it is that you most closely resemble in our database is how we're going to treat you. Which is why you get different outcomes. I know you guys are tired of seeing this, but I'm not tired of seeing it. I'm not tired of seeing it, which is why so many of you don't have the resources that she has. I'm just going to be honest with you, ladies. A man will treat her different than he treats a lot of you. Because when we see her, we see something that probably doesn't deserve our worst behavior, right? And therefore, we will be more prone to feel bad if we can honestly ourselves admit that we are treating her like crap. Just when you look at her, it appears she doesn't deserve it, right? Versus when you see a woman who's half naked, right? When you see a woman who's half naked, you're prompted to treat her like a HOE. But here's what I know that a lot of people don't know. Here's what I know that a lot of people don't know. Fellas, did you know this? Did you know that, yes, we're laying out what we identify as a classy lady and things of that nature, and how men typically treat classy ladies and things like that, right? Did you know that some of these women don't even desire to be treated like that? Did you know that some women wanted, who the fuck you talking to? Did you know that? Did you know? Look what Queen Latifah, MC Light, got a roughneck, gotta get a roughneck. They're saying it. So this thing that most of us desire from a woman, a lot of them don't even want to be that, which is why it's so easy to us. It seems like, why don't they get what we're saying? And in a lot of cases, that's not it. It's not that they don't get it. They don't want to be that. They don't want someone who's going to caress them. They don't want someone who's going to make love to them. They want to be FUCK'd. They want that hair pulled from behind, right? We'll go a step further. Turbulence, people. Did you know that women have went on record and admitted that when their man puts his hands on them, when he cusses them, it brings them closer to him because they feel like he's doing that because she belongs to him? It's a demonstration of how much he cares about her. It sounds twisted, but they went on record saying it. Martin Lawrence did jokes about it. So we have a split. We have a split with women who are lying about saying that men are dogs, but these women really want the men who are unlikely to have a successful life outcome. And then there's a split with the women who really do want that. But they're doing things. I'll say this. A lot of women are following other women. There's women who really aren't even ratchet that are following it, dressing like it, right? A lot of that's taking place. A lot. Some of you know women like that. Some of you know women you went to school with who are just very, very feminine. Now they have the long nail. They're trying not to get left out of the trend. They're trying not to get left behind. But in doing these things, they're resembling these other women who get treated bad. So when they start getting treated like those other women whom they look like get treated, they start tripping like men are dogs. No, you're turning yourself into something that we typically treat with low levels of respect. Men are simply treating women according to their estimated value, based on how many children they've had out of wedlock, based on how many children they've had by different men, based on the weight that they've picked up, based on how many people they've had sex with, based on the exterior look and style that they've adapted along their life journey, and whether or not you visually look like something a man would be proud to say is his. You guys aren't paying attention to this. Show is going to get so deep within the next 5 minutes. I'm going to show you, ladies, what your accurate appraisal rating is. And it's going to be hard to dispute it. It's going to be hard to dispute it. Here's the segment of the show where we jump right into the solutions, ladies. I think a lot of people, I really wish that there was about 5 women up here right now. Have you guys heard women say, you just treat me like a piece of me. I don't want to be treated like an object. Women take up issue with being treated like things, right? But here's the crazy part. Just like cars, just like houses, everything has an appraisal rating. Now here's where it's about to get ugly, people. Turbulence, people. And I do mean ugly. By the end of tonight's show, a lot of you will get this. Do you know how many people across the world are buying tax lien homes? It's because most people can't go out and just purchase the house that they want. I'm hoping to God we can all agree on that. Most people can't go out and purchase the house that they want. So to work with the budget that they have, they go and purchase a home that isn't quite fixed up yet, and they begin fixing it and shaping it into what would bring them pleasure and value. Some of you are already catching on to where we're going. You women are asking for the $200,000 homes, even though it's not within your budget, your SMV, sexual market value. Ladies, a lot of your looks and the other attributes that you have attached to you do not qualify for the men that you want. And it's why you haven't gotten it. Listen, there's no way that a man or woman with the right financing, with the right economic status, would be struggling for 15 years to buy a particular house that they had their sights set on if it was legitimately within the realm of their economic possibilities. I gotta say this again. There are no couples, man or woman, who would be stuck stagnant trying to purchase a home for 15 years without being able to purchase it, although it was realistically within their economic strength. If it was realistically within their economic strength, they wouldn't make it past the first 3 months. Sold. They would have it. 15 years? You guys want men who make $200,000 a year. But men who already make $200,000 a year are out of most of your sexual marketplace value. Most of you don't qualify for that guy. 80%. I'll be nice and say 75%. It's why they call them the top 20% earners. And we're not talking about his money, but what we are saying is when a man has amassed resources at that level, he becomes desirable in the eyes of women who surpass you on a lot of levels, which would also make it stupid for him to not pick over you a woman who surpasses you on various levels. Hot fam in this situation. My brother said take away 1 point for every 10 pounds overweight. 1 point per kid, 1 point per baby daddy, 1 point for every 10 years over 30. And that's your number. Are you people getting this? And I'm going to say it again for those of you who are, but what about the men? We are not the same. The same way that it's so much easier for you ladies to get sex than it is for us, we accept that. We understand. We don't have that aspect of power that you ladies have. We don't. And we don't care. We just want to be men. We don't want to be women. But I can't say the same for you. You guys really are trying to dip your toes into our lane. And it's causing catastrophic repercussions. I won't even call those results. Ladies, we don't understand why you don't understand that everything has an appraisal value and that there are elements that increase or decrease property value. And we all know that women don't like being objectified. They don't like being associated with. Ladies, you are similar to a house. You are similar to a car. You are similar to certain aspects of jewelry. You can be appraised very easily. Most of you don't know you've already been appraised. And you've been single for decades. 5, 10 years. And then when those relationships break up, you don't get snatched right up off the market immediately as soon as people find out that you're single. Shout out to all of my people in the chat. Go through some of my people's comments. Shout out ZF, I see you, brother. Whole phase has turned into a lifestyle. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of you thought you were playing with that whole phase for a short time. Here you are 20 years later. You didn't even know. Just like some people smoked crack, right? Thought they were going to be partying. Just take it. It's cool. I've done it before. Just try it. 40 years later, that person's still smoking. My brother Greg Biggs up in this situation. You heard what my brother said. Hit that thumbs up. You know it's the hottest show online. Miss Brenda up in this situation. Miss Ariel, she said, scratching my head. I know what she's talking about too. She said it's very hard to believe that that's what women desire. Well, here's the thing. We keep on saying this. We keep on saying things like when someone tells you who they are, believe them. But oftentimes, based on what we're seeing, we find it very difficult to believe. These women are really doing these things. They're really doing these things. And I think the worst part, let me see something.
Even talking about.
Let me see something.
Looking at me sideways like, I said, what you want to happen was, he was telling my mama all that, so I said, your mama. Then he called my mama stupid.
People, this is real. And I'm pretty sure that's a little girl. That's real. A lot of times we see these things and we don't want to believe that they're real, but this stuff is real. My brother Joe up in this situation. Women lose value as time goes on because their value is given up. Their value is given up front the moment they're born. Men gain value as we get older because we started from the bottom when we had nothing And no one gave a damn. These facts. These are facts. Ladies, you have a value. And I think here's what happened. I think a lot of you women didn't know that men could appraise you. Do you guys know? I know you know this, that I can take this to a pawn shop right now. They won't give me what I paid for it. They will look up its market value, right? And then based on how old it is, they will subtract, right? I mean, I can't, off the top of my head, I can't think of anything that is not appraised and can't be appraised. If anybody else can, let me know. Shout out to Mike checking this situation. The super chat. It's amazing how women believe that they're still single because listen to this. Actually, I'm going to stretch this out. Okay, that didn't sound. It's amazing how women believe that they're still single because there aren't enough qualified men. But in reality, they fall short of the glory of femininity and cooperation. But you know what? Okay, I was going to say I don't believe that women believe that, but I do believe instead of holding themselves accountable, a woman can take herself to the place where the man is to blame. Yeah, it's called delusion. Who wants to say I'm of such low quality that no man seeks to lock me down for the long term? But here's the crazy part, ladies. Herein you find the benefits and the glory of making such a statement. Once you realize that your quality is low, listen, fellas, give me a thumbs up in the chat if men do that on regular. It's how men level up. We tell ourselves, I'm a loser. I've been playing this video game all day and smoking weed. That dream I had, what's the name that I had, that business plan I had, I haven't done. We tear ourselves to pieces because we can't become men if we don't. If we lie to ourselves, I don't know, and maybe try to find a way to blame women, which I don't even know how we could do that. We would never turn into men. Just like you ladies. Fellas, give me a thumbs up in the comments if that's true. If men do become men by owning up to the BS that they're doing, by chopping ourselves up. Give me a thumbs up. If you disagree, give me a thumbs down. We can't even become men without doing that. Men have to assess if we're unattractive and things like that, because when we do assess that, then we go level our money up. Then we go level our shape up. We can't lie to ourselves or we'll keep getting the same results. Imagine if I tell myself I'm super fine and I'm sitting here only 25 years old too. Guess what's going to happen? The exact same thing that we see happening in women's lives. The same results for 5, 10, and 15 years. How could we get anywhere if we didn't acknowledge this thing right here that's holding me back needs to be repaired, enhanced? You ladies are walking around telling yourselves that the whole body of men are the problem and that it's not you. But if that were true, there would be some other men who would say, oh, that's BS. They say you're not valued. You get over here. I'll take care of you for the rest of your life. But that's not happening, which means most men are appraising you at the same rating. Studies show that we cross paths with around 50,000 people a year. Let's cut that in half. 12.5, right? You're crossing paths with 12.5. The heck? I about lost my mind. You're crossing paths with 12.5 thousand men a year, right? You mean to tell me you can't get one of them to see so much value in you that he wants to attach himself to you and never let you go. This is not to bash you. This is to help you understand it is to you. It's you. A home can start out appraised at $200,000. Once they find out it needs a brand new roof, it depreciates around $40,000 to $50,000. Let's say that they then find out that the foundation is faulty. Now, on top of that $40,000 or $50,000 is going to be another $50,000 to $70,000, probably $100,000 in depreciation. Another thing that they take into account is how old the home is, when it was built. Turbulence, people. Ladies, I'm sure you get where I'm going with this. The bigger the luxury deterioration, the more the value drops. No, let me say it like this. The more value deterioration, the more things we can find wrong with this house, the more the value drops. And listen, people, here's what you're not going to want to hear. Turbulence, people. A house or even a car can depreciate in value all the way down to the extent where it is deemed a total loss. Take that how you want to. A house or a car can depreciate in value all the way to the extent it is deemed a total loss. To where now that thing is well within the price range of people who typically don't have much going for themselves and under ordinary circumstances wouldn't have access to that thing. It means now there will be lower quality people who have access to that house just based on its value approximation. Yes, you too, ladies. Some of you have done so much damage. The crazy part of it is this. A house, we can go buy new wood and, we can almost we can gut a house and turn that thing into a brand new house. Can't really do that with human beings. So the damage that you ladies do to yourselves, in a lot of cases, it's irreparable. What can you do about herpes, ladies? What can you do about HIV? You will be reduced as a total loss. You will have to find a pool of men who also have that low value, and you will have to deal with those people. You will never be able to get the men that you want again. That ship has sailed. You will no longer have access to the men that you would desire to have. You will be reduced to dealing with men who will have you. I hope there's not one dispute in that. This is not a show where we're tearing women down, because we're about to drop all of the solutions on you to where you can increase your value. Shout out to my brother Joe up in this situation with the contribution. My brother said, women can only sell you what they have, not what you want. Patrice O'Neal. And shout out to the late, great Patrice O'Neal. Amazing brother. Well, we lost an amazing comic with that. You guys should go check out his old stuff on YouTube too. We lost an amazing comic with that. Ladies, some of you have done so much damage to yourselves as a human being that you only qualify for the caliber of men that quality women wouldn't deal with. Clearance rack, people. It's what it is. Ladies, I know what I'm saying sounds harsh, but really what I want is for you to accept this harsh truth and level up and propel on into a good life outcome. It's really, really difficult for us to have talks with you that will produce better life outcomes without us speaking on some harsh truths. See, because the truth of the matter is, a lot of women who say we're bashing or we're doing this and that, no, you know what's really bad? Not what we're saying out of our mouths, but what you're doing that we're speaking of out loud. What you're doing is far worse than us describing what you're doing with our mouths. If we were to put a camera on the things that you're doing that we're only saying, you would be able to see what you're doing is far worse than us telling the truth and conveying what you're doing. It's not what we're saying, ladies. It's what you're doing. We really, really don't understand why you ladies don't understand this. It's not just with you. It's with all things. Listen, men have appraised. Men get appraised. But we know you know that because some of you have shot men down because they're not tall enough or they don't make enough money. So listen, men are not exempt from appraisals. But it's easier for us to rebound from the shortcoming, from the things that set us back in our SMV, our sexual market value. You don't believe me? Kevin Hart is 5'2". 5'2". But do you see the woman he has? And do you see the woman he cheated with? See what I'm saying? 5'2". So there are things that men can do. Shout out to Shimmy in this situation. There are things, it's a little bit easier for men to rebound. All we have to do is fix ourselves, right? The damage that you ladies typically do, you can enhance the damage, but it's likely there. It's not just you ladies that get appraised. Most things that are associated with high value are things that are either rare or they don't have them in abundance. Which is why certain things get labeled limited edition and they sell for higher prices. Limited edition. Let's go. Turbulence, people. Ladies, is a man getting between your legs a rare occurrence? Your regular looks, is it rare that you see a woman who looks like you or better? Your fitness levels, is it rare or regular that we see a woman who's the size as you? The amount of children you have, do you fall in the category of a rare woman who has no children? Even a rare woman who only has one. You ladies won't be able to answer these questions honestly because it will prompt you to hold yourself accountable. And typically, decent human beings, when we get hit with that accountability feeling, we are prompted to put the work in to enhance ourselves. So that's why I said a lot of you ladies won't be able to answer these questions honestly, but you should write these things down. You should write these things down and see where you fit. The amount of people who you have slept with, is the number so small that it's rare? Or do the same amount of people who get between regular women's legs get in your legs? If so, you're average. I don't care what you look like, you're average. The amount of children you have, is the number so small that it's very rare in today's society? You see where this is going? You get assessed and appraised based on these things. Ladies, this very appraisal ranking system is why a lot of you are getting bad results on the dating highway. It's why a lot of you ladies are getting bad results on the dating highway. It's because your appraisal rating is saying one thing, but your pride and what you would like something to be is telling you something else. You see how something like that could conflict at high levels? I'm going to say this again. What your guys' appraisal rating, and I'm talking about a realistic, worldly appraisal rating. What your appraisal rating is saying versus what you want, your pride and what you want things to be, is where you're having the dilemma. I have to ask you, ladies, could it be easier to just listen to what the sexual marketplace is saying about you and move according to that? Right? You're bucking against something that can't be bucked against. It's almost like a white guy walking throughout the United States trying to convince everybody he's black. He even talks white. Was raised on an Amish farm. It's what you're doing. That's how heavily you guys are bucking against what your appraisal rating is. And to buck against something that you're bucking against a brick wall is what you're doing. Because it's not going anywhere. It still remains. What people say about you typically is how people will feel about you in Japan. Is how people in Japan will feel about you. Right? Your appraisal rating is saying one thing, but your pride and what you would like things to be for you is telling you something else. This is the loop that you ladies are stuck in. But let's go, people. Results. Now it's time for the results. If you ladies really want to get results, and we're going to talk about you ladies who have done damage to your sexual market value. I don't want you to ever think that it's over. For some of you, it is over, right? Like that woman from yesterday who had 7 kids. It's over. It's over. And I do respect the fact that she had those kids inside of a marriage. But I'm going to be honest, if I'm going to say this, if I'm a woman and I know how this current world is operating, we have a 50+% divorce ratio. Even though I believe this thing is going to last forever, I still can't find myself tasking myself with 7 children. Anything that I think would make it almost impossible for another man to accept me in the event my marriage didn't work, I wouldn't do it. We would definitely stop at 3. I don't know what that brother was on some, I don't know if they had an in-house fertility clinic or what. 7? My brother said, if a woman says 8, 9, or 10, I say 8, print model. 9, runway model. 10, supermodel / perfect 10 model. Which one are you? Most people are average. Most people are average. I'm going to tell you how crazy the world we live in. You guys go to the video on my TikTok or the YouTube. where I told that woman she was a 5, which is average, and she was appalled. You guys have bit this feminism hook so deeply, you guys are condemning average looks, which is the majority of people are average. If you ladies really want results, like I was telling you about the fixer-upper house, people who can't afford their own $100,000 home, they go to tax lien sales, things of that nature, and they try to turn that thing into what they can get it to closely into something that they can get to closest resemble the $100,000 home that they wanted. They work with what they have. If you ladies want realistic results, get you something that isn't quite there yet and help it to become what it can be. You ladies have been tricked into viewing the most valuable men as trash. That's crazy. You've been tricked into viewing the most valuable men as trash. A man who is down on his luck, who you give the time of day, who you take him to get some counseling, all of those things, right? Same things that you would do to better yourself. You introduce him to some of the people you went to college with who can offer him opportunities. You power him up. Then when he turns into a man who makes $200,000 a year, now you qualify for that $200,000 a year man. That man that under normal circumstances you would not qualify for because you are not a $200,000 a year man woman. Right? But now, because you went to a tax lien sale instead of vying for a man who was already making $200,000 a year, you have one realistically now. You have one realistically now. And here's the crazy part. Let's say he only ends up making $60,000 a year. You have just created an amazing future for yourself. It's not the men. You ladies have been tricked into becoming hyper consumers. It's not the men. And the way they turned you into hyper consumers convinced you to detach from your men. This is how they turned you into hyper consumers. You ladies want a real relationship? Stop looking at the most valuable men, regular ordinary men. Stop looking at them like trash and look at them like human beings who fell on hard times. Because that's what we've been doing with you since the beginning of time. That's what we have been doing with you since the beginning of time. If you ladies want real relationships, stop looking down on the men who you realistically qualify for. The men whom, if he wasn't down on his luck, you likely wouldn't qualify for him. Don't you ladies get this? If he wasn't down on his luck, you wouldn't qualify for him based on the damage that you've already done to your life. The man whom, if you are as intelligent and valuable of a woman as you say, it simply means that you have the resources to help him become all that he can become as a man. Right? But that sounds too much like work. That sounds too much like work. But if you put that work in, you'll have a man who resembles what a man can become. Listen, ladies, the already put together version of a 6-figure earning man, you're not getting it. You're not getting it. I promise you. You know I'm not lying because you haven't gotten him and you're 40 years old. My brother said 60K times 25 years is 1.5 million. Try to come up with 1.5 million on your own. Try to come up with 1.5 million on your own. Cash. Cash. I'm not talking about what you made. I'm talking about cash. You ladies aren't going to you can't make it by yourselves. This has been a two-income society for the last 50 years. Meaning, in order to live a comfortable life without lack, it requires two incomes. You guys develop the desire to put the work in to come up with the type of man that you really do want, and you will have a man who resembles all that a man can become. But in a lot of cases, you ladies won't do it. We call you guys shortcut experts. That, even though it will yield an amazing outcome, is too much work for most of you. The reason we know is because you don't typically want anything that requires you to exert effort, discipline, and work. Which is why, instead of hitting the gym, a lot of you ladies go get waist trainers or liposuction. You guys hate the work. You hate the work. Instead of doing your hair, you wear hair weave for a month and a half, some of you 3 months. Instead of turning yourself into something amazing so that you can attract higher caliber men, you deal with lower caliber men because they'll tolerate you at your lowest. There's a girl that went viral for making that statement. She came clean with it, people. I wish I could pull it up. But listen, ladies, I think if I could sum this show up all in one, it will be me letting you know you're getting the results that you're getting because you have been appraised already and you don't realize it. You ladies have been appraised over and over again by every man who has come into contact with you. I'm telling you again, we cross paths with roughly 50,000 people. 50,000 people per year. And there's more women than there are men. So we'll cut that a little bit beneath half and say that 10,000 of them are men. In 5 years, you have crossed paths with 50,000 men and not compelled any one of them with your value to say, I want her all to myself. That's an issue. But what we're telling you ladies is this. You can enhance yourselves. Stop getting stretched out. Stop it. Sex is good to all of us, but it decreases your value. It decreases your value. Not only that, it turns you. I'd like to know, do women even know? Listen, ladies, did you know that the more sex you have, it changes you as a human being? Women become bitter. They develop attitudes. They develop low tolerances for things. They become spiteful. Did you guys know that the more sex you have, it breaks you? Ladies, give me a thumbs up if you knew that. A lot of you don't know that the lifestyle that you're living is changing you into something that's not desirable in the eyes of men. And a lot of you go so hard, you become something that's not desirable in the eyes of men or women, which is why some of you can't even have any girlfriends. I will tell you what to do before we leave. The weight has to go. You must lose the weight. You must lose the weight. Ladies, you must stop having the children or you will die alone. You will die alone. Someone told me the other day, well, we came into this world by ourselves. What do you guys mean when you say die alone? What we mean is when the world comes with the harshest aspects of life and it confronts us, you know, some people getting diagnosed with cancer, some people getting diagnosed with diabetes, and we need to take 3 of your toes off. When the world comes with its harshest elements and knocks on your door, Dealing with that by yourself, opposed to having a mate who will support you throughout those hard times, that is our definition of dying alone, ladies. I, I'd actually consider it more to be torture instead of dying. That's a torture. To watch yourself have to deal with the harshest aspects of life by yourself. It's crazy. It's crazy.
You fucking crazy, man. You sound insane. Do you realize that? You should be medicated.
That sounds crazy. To opt. And like we said on yesterday's show, ladies, you don't have any dating leverage. You don't have any leverage. Yesterday's show, some of you have done so much damage to yourselves that you don't have any leverage. The multiple children by multiple men, and then you're overweight, and you were just born average looking, which I'm not knocking that. None of us can control that. But you have no leverage. Here's what I mean when I say leverage. A man who has his finances intact, and I mean well intact, his leverage is, if you don't want to put up with my SHIT, you won't have access to a man like me. That's leverage. Now, she has to opt knowing that the average man isn't going to be able to do the things for her that he can, right? And listen, I'm going to tell you another piece of leverage. Amazing sex. A man who has those components, he has leverage. So what I'm saying when I say that you ladies don't have any leverage, let's go. Turbulence, people. A lot of you have done so much damage to yourself to where in a lot of cases, you're unwanted. An unwanted woman typically has to deal with the caliber of man she can get. Now, if you're a fairly attractive woman, above average looking woman, you can still score with 2 children. It's possible for you to get a quality man, not a high value man, but a quality man. It's possible, especially depending on the age of the children. If one of them is 17, it's a little bit better. If you are a 6 and above, it's possible for you to get locked down with a quality man. And what I mean when I say 6, that automatically includes your fitness and your femininity. A feminine woman who is fit and scale of 1 to 10, she's a 6 or better, she stands a chance. But I'm going to give you ladies, those of you who, let's just be honest, you're not that good looking and you're overweight, I can't do anything about that. But what I can tell you is to lose the weight. Everybody, pretty much everybody looks better when they lose the weight. It will be a plus. Your body will become enticing and appealing to men, right? We are part of the laziest group of people on the planet. The proof that our women don't have discipline, you're the biggest women on the planet. I'm talking about unintentionally. There's women in Somalia and things like that's their culture and things like that. But our women, they don't want to be that big, but they don't have the discipline that is required to do what is necessary to be a healthy size. I've long ago determined and assessed that the reason why a lot of our women are so feisty and belligerent towards men, right, is because when you become a certain size, your confidence level rises too. Like if you're a little bit bigger than the man, I'm not saying that you will take on the energy that you believe you can whoop him, but you'll be a little bit more confident and a little bit less afraid to piss that man off than a small petite woman would be. A small petite woman just knows she doesn't want that thing to him to even push her. Bigger women in the African American community, some of them really think that they stand a chance because of how big they are. That weight is doing something to you women on multiple levels. And listen, I'm going to tell you this. Don't say, I'm going to get me a gym membership. It means nothing if you don't have a trainer. If you don't have a personal trainer, you're not serious about it. If you don't have someone to hold you accountable, you're not serious. Listen, liposuction doesn't count, ladies. You guys look terrible after you get that stuff. You guys look like walruses and things like that. Like, I'm dead serious. I've seen it before. And then you have the jug holes in your bodies. Like, this woman was very attractive. I think maybe Asian woman. And I saw her body, and it looked like she had been shot with AK-47. I didn't understand what it was until I saw a picture on her profile on her Instagram from years ago. She was huge. She got the liposuction. I did my own research, found out they jug people. They stick a needle in you and they turn it around. You guys look like you've been shot with guns when you get that surgery. And men, we don't count it as success anyway. We count it as you cheated. We count it as you cheated. Miss Keita said you don't have to have a trainer to be serious and disciplined. It helps people who lack those characteristics, though. Miss Keita, those are the people who I'm talking about. Very rarely do you find people who can take it upon themselves to task with losing the weight. If it were not so, we wouldn't be having this conversation. They would have lost the weight. Listen, these people don't even have the discipline to eat healthy. 80% of the women in the black community are overweight or obese. If you don't believe me, go to your Instagram and scroll and scroll and scroll, and you tell me what the first 20 women that you crossed paths with look like. They're going to be overweight. Even our youngins are overweight. And another thing about that, no men, I'm going to say this to you. I'm going to say this to you people. If I had to lay out the biggest problem in the African American community, it would be women having children without a dad being attached to it. Do you guys know that it took me up into my 40s? I know you guys are going to make fun of me. I know. They made fun of me on Facebook. Some of you know what I'm about to say. I told you guys this before already. It took me up until, I think it was a year ago. I didn't know women were having casual, unprotected sex. I think something like that is so mind-blowing to me. Maybe I never thought about it. When I say casual, I mean met him at the club tonight. And he was able to smash and go raw. Lord God up in heaven above. That's where the bastard children are coming from. In a scenario like that, you can't even expect a dad to be attached to that child's life. And I'm going to say this to you ladies. Any scenario where a dad is not attached to the child's life is going to come out with an outcome that is unfavorable for the child's life. Can some pull it off? Yes, but it doesn't happen often. That's why we call those exceptions to the rule. Doesn't typically happen. Why do you think 80% of the people who go back and forth to prison and end up with derlicks on the street are raised in a single parent house, in a single mom household? That dad thing that we're talking about, ladies, it's not optional. It's essential. For decades, you guys have proved to us you can't pull this off. I don't think it's your job to pull it off. I think women's focus should be on being feminine, not having to chase kids around the house, not having to go to the PTA meetings all by themselves. Those things. Because, see, the less stress that a woman is encumbered by, the more she can dwell in her feminine. But I know it sounds like I'm siding with you ladies, and in an aspect I am, but you do it to yourselves. We didn't tell you to go out there and let a random stranger nut inside of your body. I don't even do it. I don't do it. Which is why they say African American women have 5 times the abortions of any other race. You people are out there letting men dump their sperm, their genetic makeup inside of your bodies. I wouldn't even be able to go to sleep at night. I might go home and throw up or something. And I stand firm that until we get that under control, until women make up in their minds that they won't deal with a man who doesn't already appear to be a suitable candidate for a father, someone who they don't believe would neglect their duties, we're dead. We're dead. We already can't rebound back from this hole that we've dug, right? We can't rebound from it. Like the African American race is dead. They say those refugees have been let into the country to replace black people because black people didn't measure up. We're lazy. We don't really like to work. Those Mexicans out here in California, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take pictures from now on to show you guys what I'm talking about. These people have pop-up tents. And I'm talking about professional pop-up tents where they're pulling grills, long frying grills out of the vans, setting up a station for the entire day. Listen, not only that, they'll be stationed in high traffic areas, Rite Aid or other areas. At the end of the night, I promise you, it's not 1, 2, or 3 I saw. All of them. They have power hose and things to where they spray the sidewalk off so that none of the people, so the city can't complain or anything. They wash all of their tools off. I watched them do it. These people are really preserving their race, and we are not. We are regressing. We are the opposite of living. It's because we don't have families, people. We don't have families. We have baby mamas, baby daddies, and kids. We can never thrive like that. No society can. Not only that, the kids that we shoot out are so broken by the time that they're able to comprehend things and make moves on their own, they kill us. Literally, with guns, they kill us. The children we spit out turn into our worst enemies. Even the girls. Even the girls. Listen, people, we're going to wrap the show up. I hope you guys got something out of it. I'm going to merge these shows together and re-upload them on YouTube. Ladies, you will never get any tangible results until you stop lying to yourselves, because that's what you've been doing. You guys have been lying to yourselves about your dating value. And you won't stop. I think you should listen to what the world is telling you about who you are. Because typically the whole world isn't spreading rumors on you, right? I rock with you, people. We're out of here.
Got him. We fucking got him. I can't believe you say no funky shit like that.
The power of Christ compels you! The power of Christ compels you! The power of Christ compels you!
You fucking crazy, man. You sound insane. Do you realize that? You should be medicated.
No. 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 See. No, no, no.
Flee, evil spirit. I command you. In the name of God. In the name of God.
You having an unnatural allegiance to losers is not like you.
Goodbye.
Next time you hear grown folks talking, shut the fuck up, yeah?
The power of Christ compels you. The power of Christ compels you.
Many have wondered why Satan was played by a woman in the Passion of the Christ.
Prince of lies, return to the depths of darkness.